They say never meet your heroes. But Johnny Carson found the opposite to be true. Behind the spotlights and applause, he witnessed acts of kindness so profound they changed how he saw fame itself. These are the stories of Hollywood's hidden angels, the ones who used their stardom to heal the world, one gentle gesture at a time. Jimmy Stewart, the gentle giant Carson, called pure heart. Jimmy Stewart was one of Hollywood's most endearing leading men, a lanky everyman, war hero, an Oscar winner, whose roles in It's a Wonderful Life and Mr. Smith Goes to Washington embodied American decency. His humble charm and stuttered delivery made him a national treasure. Stewart's character was forged in a stable Pennsylvania upbringing, but deepened by his World War II service as a bomber pilot, earning him the Distinguished Flying Cross and a lifelong commitment to veterans' causes. Stewart's war experience left him with what would now be recognized as PTSD, nightmares about falling planes and lost comrades that haunted him for decades. He suffered from anxiety attacks, significant weight loss, and hearing damage from the thunderous noise of bomber engines. Yet he channeled these invisible wounds into his performances, bringing an authentic vulnerability to his roles that audiences could feel, even if they couldn't identify its source. On The Tonight Show, according to staff accounts, Stewart was gracious and unassuming, earning a special place in Carson's affections. "He's what goodness looks like," Carson reportedly told a colleague after a memorable 1981 appearance. Unlike some guests who focused on self-promotion, Stewart's kindness shone through when he shared personal stories. Stewart's appearances were marked by his genuine interest in crew members. He would arrive early to learn everyone's names, from camera operators to parking attendants, and would often stay after tapings to sign autographs for staff children, treating each person with the same respect he showed Carson himself. During that infamous segment, Stewart read a poem he'd written about his late dog, Bo, describing the pup's loyalty and mischief with such tenderness that Carson, visibly moved, teared up on camera, a rare vulnerability for the host. The poem, which Stewart had written by hand on hotel stationery the night before the show, captured not just his love for his pet, but his deep capacity for finding profound meaning in simple relationships. Carson later said, "It was one of the few times on television when he forgot he was performing and simply felt like a friend listening to another friend's heart." Johnny wasn't one for open emotion, a former producer explained, but Jimmy's words hit home, reminding everyone of simple joys. Stewart's treatment of crew members was equally warm. He learned names, shook hands with everyone from assistants to cameramen, and once stayed late to sign autographs for staff families. Stewart's kindness extended to remembering personal details about crew members' lives, their children's names, their hometown struggles, their dreams. Years later, staff members would receive Christmas cards from him, often including small checks for their children's college funds, with notes saying, "From a friend who believes in your future." "He treated us like old friends," recalled a floor manager present that day. What Carson admired most about Stewart was the contrast between his heroic public image and his private humility. Despite his war heroism and Hollywood success, Stewart continued to struggle with self-doubt and feelings of inadequacy, making his acts of kindness all the more remarkable as expressions of genuine character rather than calculated image building. He regularly visited veterans' hospitals without publicity, often spending entire afternoons with wounded soldiers, listening to their stories and offering quiet encouragement. Bette Midler, the divine diva, Carson dubbed a gift of joy. On screen, Bette Midler and Johnny Carson shared a playful, affectionate rapport. The bold singer and actress would belt out tunes, trade quips, and light up the stage with her energy. Behind the scenes, however, Carson treasured Midler for her genuine warmth, not just her talent, which he adored, but for how she made people feel seen and loved. "If she weren't singing, she'd be healing hearts," Carson once told a friend, according to biographies. Midler's journey to compassion was forged in the working-class neighborhoods of Honolulu, where she grew up as one of the few Jewish families in a predominantly Asian community. Her family struggled financially. Her father, Fred, worked as a house painter and at the Navy base, while her mother, Ruth, worked as a seamstress. Young Bette often helped support the family by working odd jobs, including dishwashing at local restaurants, experiences that taught her never to forget people who worked behind the scenes. A pivotal event in Midler's life was her rise from Hawaiian lounges to Broadway, fueled by her mother's encouragement, despite family hardships. Midler channeled that support into her own acts of giving, like founding the New York Restoration Project to green urban spaces. When Midler first moved to New York City, she was shocked by the environmental degradation she witnessed, having grown up surrounded by Hawaii's natural beauty. This contrast ignited a lifelong passion for environmental justice that led her to invest millions of her own money and decades of activism into transforming neglected urban spaces into green sanctuaries for underserved communities. Midler's appearances on The Tonight Show were highlights for crew members, thanks to the joy she spread. According to longtime staff, she'd arrive with homemade treats for the band and hug production assistants, creating an atmosphere one cameraman described as like a family reunion. Midler had a remarkable memory for personal details about crew members and their families, often asking about sick relatives or children's achievements from previous visits. She once flew a Tonight Show makeup artist's daughter to Los Angeles for a special medical treatment, covering all expenses and arranging for the best specialists, all while maintaining complete discretion about her generosity. What truly moved Carson was her performance on his penultimate show in 1992. During the emotional episode, Midler duetted with him on Here's That Rainy Day, then sang a customized One for My Baby as a farewell, bringing Carson to tears in a historic long-shot moment. The audience wept too, and it earned Midler an Emmy. The song choice was Midler's personal tribute to Carson, as she had researched his favorite songs and discovered his deep emotional connection to that particular melody. She spent weeks working with the show's musical director to create an arrangement that would honor their friendship, viewing it as one of the most important performances of her career because of its personal meaning rather than its public impact. Johnny rarely let his guard down, a director recalled. Bette's song was pure love. He called it the perfect send-off. Carson later told close friends that Midler's performance was the greatest gift he received in 30 years of television, not because of its artistry, but because it demonstrated how someone could express genuine love through their craft, something he had always aspired to do, but rarely achieved so perfectly. Judy Garland, the resilient songbird, Carson adored as a fighter with grace. Judy Garland appeared on The Tonight Show in her later years, captivating with her voice and stories. Viewers saw the iconic star of The Wizard of Oz, but Carson saw a survivor whose kindness endured despite hardships. She's unbreakable light, Carson allegedly told Ed McMahon after one touching appearance. Garland's early life was marked by exploitation at MGM Studios, where executives forced her to take amphetamines to maintain energy and barbiturates to sleep, creating a cycle of dependency that would plague her entire life. Despite these industry-imposed struggles, she maintained an extraordinary compassion for others facing similar battles, often using her own painful experiences to comfort fellow performers struggling with substance challenges. Garland's childhood was marred by studio exploitation and dependency issues, yet she advocated for civil rights, marching with Martin Luther King Jr., and using her fame for equality. Garland was one of the few major entertainers to actively participate in the planning committee for the 1963 March on Washington, using her connections to help organize and fundraise alongside other committed activists. Her support for civil rights was deeply personal, as she identified with marginalized communities through her own experiences of being exploited and misunderstood by powerful institutions. What revealed Garland's heart was her vulnerability on Carson's couch. During a 1960s episode, she shared stories of supporting underprivileged fans, once gifting a young admirer tickets to her show. Carson, moved, extended the segment to let her sing an extra song. The story she shared involved a young fan with disabilities who couldn't afford tickets to her Carnegie Hall concert. Garland not only provided front row seats, but also arranged for the teenager to meet her backstage, where she spent an hour talking about dreams and perseverance, later paying for the fans' music lessons for 2 years without any publicity. Johnny gave her space to shine, a producer recalled. She hugged him off air, thanking him for the kindness. Garland was known among Tonight Show's staff for her extraordinary emotional intelligence, or practical help. Her backstage conversations often lasted longer than her on-air appearances, as she genuinely cared about the people behind the cameras. Garland's warmth toward staff was legendary. She'd chat with makeup artists about their lives, offering advice like a big sister. Carson admired her resilience amid tragedies like her overdose, passing at 47. Despite her own overwhelming struggles with dependency, financial exploitation, and failed relationships, Garland maintained an almost supernatural ability to uplift others. Former colleagues recalled her writing encouraging letters to fellow performers facing career setbacks, often including small monetary gifts during her own periods of financial hardship. After her passing, he dedicated a tribute episode, saying she fought with grace. Her appearances left Carson inspired, often replaying clips in private. Carson kept a private collection of Garland's Tonight Show appearances and would watch them when he himself was struggling with periods of sadness, finding inspiration in how she could transform pain into hope through her performances. Lucille Ball, the comedy queen, Carson praised as a trailblazer of heart. Lucille Ball's visits were filled with laughter, but her off-camera empathy earned Carson's respect. Raised amid poverty after her father's passing, Ball built Desilu Studios, greenlighting Star Trek against odds. Ball's father, Henry, passed away when she was just 3 years old, plunging the family into poverty and forcing her mother to work multiple jobs to survive. This early experience of loss and financial instability created in Lucy a fierce determination to help others avoid similar hardships, leading to her lifelong practice of quietly supporting struggling families in her neighborhood and within the entertainment industry. "She's got heart and smarts," Carson said, after she shared pioneering tales. As the first woman to head a major television production company, Ball faced constant criticism and skepticism about her business acumen. However, she used her position to create opportunities for other women in television, often hiring female directors and writers when few others would, and establishing mentorship programs that helped launch dozens of careers behind the camera. On the show, Ball mentored young comedians, once coaching a nervous guest during breaks. Carson witnessed her kindness when she donated to crew causes anonymously. Ball had an extraordinary memory for the personal struggles of everyone she worked with, from stars to stagehands. She quietly paid medical bills, provided college scholarships for crew members' children, and once bought a house for a Tonight Show janitor whose family had been evicted, all without seeking any recognition or publicity. Despite her Hugh S.E. scare and challenging personal relationships, Ball's generosity shone. She supported women's rights and charities. During the McCarthy era, when Ball was investigated for alleged communist sympathies due to a 1936 voter registration, she faced career-threatening scrutiny. Rather than becoming bitter or withdrawn, she emerged more committed to supporting others facing unfair persecution, quietly funding legal defense funds for entertainers blacklisted during the Red Scare. Carson called her a trailblazer of heart, booking her often for her uplifting presence. Ball's appearances on The Tonight Show were therapeutic for Carson himself, as he found her combination of professional excellence and personal warmth inspiring during his own periods of self-doubt and personal struggles. Did you know about Johnny's incredible generosity? Share your favorite Tonight Show memory. Frank Sinatra, the chairman's hidden tenderness. Frank Sinatra commanded stages worldwide as the chairman of the board and Old Blue Eyes, becoming one of America's most influential entertainers. Born to Italian immigrant parents in Hoboken, New Jersey, Sinatra rose from poverty to global stardom, developing a reputation for both his legendary voice and his fierce loyalty to friends. Sinatra's childhood was marked by his parents' turbulent relationship and his father's frequent absences due to work as a boxer and later firefighter. Young Frank often found solace with his grandmother, who taught him the importance of defending those who couldn't defend themselves, a lesson that would guide his lifelong commitment to helping others. His public image oscillated between crooner and tough guy, but Carson recognized something deeper in the man behind the persona. What Carson admired about Sinatra was his extraordinary, often anonymous, generosity. Throughout his career, Sinatra donated over $1 billion to various charities, but insisted that most of his giving remain private. He regularly paid strangers' medical bills, funded college educations for children of friends who had passed, and once quietly supported an entire Italian-American family's restaurant business when they faced bankruptcy, refusing to accept any repayment or recognition. During Tonight Show appearances, Sinatra's vulnerability occasionally surfaced, particularly when discussing his deep friendships and his concern for fellow performers facing hard times. Carson witnessed Sinatra's genuine emotion when the singer spoke about losing close friends, or when he advocated for civil rights causes. Sinatra risked his career by refusing to perform in venues that practiced racial segregation, often walking away from lucrative contracts rather than compromise his principles. His integration of the Copa Room in Las Vegas and his insistence that Sammy Davis Jr. be treated as an equal partner in the Rat Pack helped break down entertainment industry barriers. Behind the scenes, Tonight Show staff discovered Sinatra's unexpected gentleness. He would spend time with nervous backup singers, offering career advice and sometimes arranging introductions to record executives. One makeup artist recalled Sinatra quietly asking about her sick mother and later arranging for specialist medical consultations, covering all expenses while insisting she never reveal his involvement. Carson particularly respected Sinatra's loyalty to struggling friends, noting how the star would mobilize his entire network to help someone in crisis. When comedian Joe E. Lewis faced serious financial and health problems, Sinatra not only organized benefit concerts, but personally nursed his friend through recovery periods, staying at Lewis's bedside and ensuring he received the best possible care. Frank's heart was as big as his voice, Carson once remarked to his producer, but he'd deny it if you asked him directly. Sammy Davis Jr., the entertainer's triumph over adversity. Sammy Davis Jr. dazzled audiences as the world's greatest entertainer, mastering singing, dancing, comedy, and acting with unprecedented versatility. Born into vaudeville poverty, Davis began performing at age 3 with his father's troupe, never attending traditional school, but learning life's hardest lessons on stage. Davis's childhood was shaped by extreme poverty and the harsh realities of racial segregation in entertainment. He often slept in theater dressing rooms, ate whatever meals kind stage managers might share, and learned to read using theater programs and sheet music. Despite these hardships, his father, Sam Sr., and uncle, Will Maston, taught him that entertainment could be a force for dignity and hope. The defining moment of Davis's resilience came in 1954, when a car accident cost him his left eye at age 29. The accident occurred while Davis was driving overnight from Las Vegas to Los Angeles for a recording session. Exhausted but committed to honoring his professional obligations, the crash left him with a crushed left eye socket, requiring the eye to be surgically removed and replaced with a prosthetic. During his recovery, Frank Sinatra visited him daily in the San Bernardino hospital, beginning a friendship that would sustain both men through future struggles. Rather than retreating from public life, Davis transformed his trauma into deeper empathy for others facing adversity. Carson admired Davis's unwavering commitment to civil rights, despite the personal and professional costs. Davis marched alongside Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and used his fame to challenge segregation, often performing for free at civil rights benefits. He faced threats for his activism and lost lucrative bookings in segregated venues, but never wavered in his support for equality. His Tonight Show appearances revealed both his entertainment genius and his profound humanity. During one memorable appearance, Davis spoke about converting to Judaism after the accident, explaining how he found comfort in the shared experience of persecution and the Jewish emphasis on repairing the world through good deeds. Staff members remembered Davis's extraordinary kindness to everyone he encountered. He would tip service workers generously, remembering their names and asking about their families during return visits. One janitor recalled Davis paying for his daughter's wedding when the man mentioned he couldn't afford the celebration his family deserved. Sammy turned pain into purpose, Carson reflected. He showed us that suffering could make you more human, not less. Bob Hope, the Patriots' selfless service. Bob Hope entertained millions as America's beloved comedian, but Carson knew him as something more profound. A man who spent 5 decades bringing joy to troops around the world through his USO shows. Born in England and raised in Cleveland, Hope built his career on perfect timing and fearless wit, but his true legacy lay in his tireless service to American military personnel. Hope's commitment to entertaining troops began during World War II and continued through Vietnam, the Cold War, and beyond, ultimately spanning nearly 50 years of unpaid performances in the most dangerous locations worldwide. He traveled over 1 million miles, performed for more than 10 million service members, and never accepted payment for these shows, considering them his patriotic duty. What moved Carson about Hope was the comedian's genuine love for the soldiers he entertained. Hope would spend hours after official shows talking individually with troops, writing letters to their families back home, and remembering personal details about soldiers he met in previous tours. He kept a private address book with thousands of names of service members he'd encountered, sending Christmas cards and checking on their welfare long after their military service ended. During Tonight Show appearances, Hope's eyes would light up when discussing his military audiences, revealing a deep emotional connection that transcended entertainment. Hope often said that performing for troops was more rewarding than any Hollywood success because he could literally see how laughter lifted spirits and provided momentary escape from the stress of military life. Behind his public persona, Hope struggled with the emotional toll of witnessing young soldiers facing danger and uncertainty. He privately funded college scholarships for children of fallen service members and maintained correspondence with Gold Star families for decades. Hope's personal secretary revealed that he often wept after visiting wounded soldiers in military hospitals, but would return the next day to continue bringing whatever comfort he could provide. Carson respected Hope's ability to find humor in the darkest circumstances while never minimizing the seriousness of military service. Hope's joke notebooks contained special sections of material written specifically for troops in combat zones, humor that acknowledged their fears and hardships while providing the healing power of laughter. Bob gave his heart to America's heroes, Carson observed. He understood that sometimes laughter is the greatest gift you can offer someone facing their darkest hour. Dean Martin, the cool cat's hidden vulnerability. Dean Martin epitomized effortless cool as the laid-back member of the Rat Pack, but Carson saw through the suave exterior to discover a deeply sensitive man hiding behind carefully constructed personas. Born Dino Paul Crocetti to Italian immigrants in Ohio, Martin grew up in poverty and never lost his connection to his working-class roots. Martin's father, Gaetano, worked as a barber, and young Dino dropped out of school in 10th grade to help support his family, working various jobs including as a steel mill worker and professional boxer before discovering entertainment as his path to a better life. These early struggles with poverty and discrimination against Italian Americans created a lifelong empathy for underdogs and outsiders. Despite his image as a carefree performer, Martin battled intense shyness and stage fright throughout his career. Martin's famous intoxicated persona was largely an act. He rarely consumed alcohol on stage, instead sipping apple juice from cocktail glasses while creating the illusion of casual relaxation. This performance allowed him to mask his natural introversion and connect with audiences who saw him as approachable and unpretentious. Carson noticed Martin's genuine warmth during Tonight Show appearances, particularly when the conversation turned to family or friendship. Martin was extraordinarily devoted to his children, often declining lucrative performance opportunities to attend their school events and sporting activities. He quietly funded numerous youth programs in Los Angeles, focusing on providing opportunities for disadvantaged children to discover their talents in athletics and entertainment. The depth of Martin's emotional capacity became most apparent after the tragic passing of his son, Dean Paul Martin Jr., in a 1987 plane crash. Martin was devastated by the loss and never fully recovered from the grief. Friends reported that he would dine alone in restaurants, staring at his son's photograph and struggling with profound sadness that no amount of professional success could heal. Carson admired how Martin channeled his pain into deeper compassion for others facing loss. After his son's passing, Martin began quietly visiting families who had lost children, offering comfort without publicity or fanfare. He established a scholarship fund in his son's memory and would personally meet with recipients, sharing stories about overcoming adversity through hope and community support. Dean taught me that coolness isn't about being unfeeling, Carson reflected. Sometimes the coolest thing you can do is let people see your heart break and watch how you put it back together. Carol Burnett, the comic's courage through hardship. Carol Burnett emerged as America's beloved comedy queen, but Carson knew her as a survivor who transformed childhood trauma into healing laughter for millions. Born in San Antonio, Texas, and raised in Hollywood, Burnett faced poverty, family dysfunction, and uncertainty that could have crushed a lesser spirit. Burnett's parents, Louise and Jody, both struggled with severe alcoholism, leaving young Carol to be primarily raised by her grandmother, Nanny Mae White, in a one-room apartment in Hollywood. The family often lacked money for basic necessities, and Carol learned to find humor in dire circumstances as a survival mechanism. What amazed Carson about Burnett was her ability to maintain optimism despite overwhelming challenges. Burnett's childhood was marked by her parents' frequent absences due to their drinking, leaving her to care for herself and navigate the adult world largely alone. Her grandmother, while loving, suffered from various ailments and financial stress, creating an environment where young Carol learned early that laughter could transform even the most difficult situations. Her breakthrough came through the generosity of strangers who recognized her talent and provided financial support for her dreams. An anonymous benefactor gave Burnett $1,000 to help her pursue her career in New York, asking only that she help someone else when she achieved success. This act of kindness became the foundation of Burnett's lifelong commitment to supporting aspiring performers facing similar financial obstacles. During Tonight Show appearances, Burnett's vulnerability shone through her comedy, revealing someone who understood life's hardships intimately. Burnett would often speak about her grandmother's influence, crediting Nanny with teaching her that laughter was the best medicine for heartache, and that helping others laugh was a sacred responsibility. Carson admired Burnett's dedication to using her success to help struggling families. She quietly supported numerous families dealing with alcoholism, paying for treatment programs, and providing ongoing emotional support. Burnett also established scholarship programs for children from dysfunctional homes, understanding from personal experience how talent and dreams could flourish even in the most challenging circumstances. Her own struggles with her daughter Carrie's dependency battles revealed the depth of her compassion. Rather than hiding her family's struggles, Burnett spoke openly about dependency's impact, helping to reduce stigma while supporting other parents facing similar challenges. Carol proved that you can use pain as raw material for joy, Carson observed. She showed us that the people who make us laugh the hardest often understand tears the deepest. Ed McMahon, the loyal friend's private struggles. Ed McMahon served as Johnny Carson's steadfast sidekick for 30 years, but their relationship revealed a man of surprising depth and loyalty who faced his own significant challenges with dignity. Born in Detroit and raised in various locations due to his father's work, McMahon developed early the people skills and adaptability that would make him invaluable to Carson. McMahon's childhood was marked by frequent relocations that taught him to quickly assess social situations and connect with new people, skills that served him well in entertainment, but also created a deep need for stable, lasting relationships, like his partnership with Carson. What Carson valued most about McMahon was his unwavering loyalty and genuine kindness to everyone around them. McMahon treated Tonight Show, guests, staff, and audiences with equal respect and warmth, remembering personal details about crew members' families and celebrating their achievements. He often served as an unofficial counselor to nervous guests, spending time before shows helping them relax and feel welcomed. Behind his jovial public persona, McMahon faced serious personal and financial challenges that he handled with remarkable grace. In his later years, McMahon encountered severe financial difficulties due to poor investments and economic downturns, nearly losing his Beverly Hills home. Rather than becoming bitter, he worked tirelessly to rebuild his financial stability while maintaining his generous spirit toward others facing similar struggles. McMahon's military service as a Marine aviator revealed another dimension of his character that Carson deeply respected. McMahon served as a fighter pilot in World War II and the Korean War, experiences that gave him perspective on life's truly important challenges. His military background created a bond with Carson, who admired McMahon's courage and sense of duty. During difficult periods in Carson's personal life, McMahon provided steady emotional support while respecting his friend's privacy. When Carson struggled with relationship problems or personal challenges, McMahon would subtly adjust his on-screen energy to support his partner without drawing attention to Carson's difficulties. This professional intuition and personal loyalty created a partnership that transcended typical entertainment relationships. Carson once told friends that McMahon possessed an almost supernatural ability to sense what others needed emotionally. McMahon would quietly arrange for flowers to be sent to staff members' families during illnesses, organize surprise celebrations for colleagues' achievements, and provide encouragement to struggling performers, all while maintaining the cheerful public persona that made him beloved by audiences. Ed understood that friendship sometimes means being the strong one when your partner needs to lean, Carson reflected. He taught me that loyalty isn't just about showing up. It's about knowing when to step forward and when to step back. Don Rickles, the insult comic's secret warmth. Don Rickles terrorized audiences with his rapid-fire insults and became known as Mr. Warmth through sheer irony. But Carson discovered the genuine article beneath the comedian's caustic exterior. Born to Jewish immigrant parents in Queens, Rickles developed his aggressive comedy style as both entertainment and survival mechanism in tough neighborhoods. Rickles' father, Max, was an insurance salesman who struggled to support his family, while his mother, Etta, was fiercely protective and encouraging of her son's ambitions. Young Don learned early that humor could defuse tense situations and win over potentially hostile audiences, skills that would define his entire career approach. What amazed Carson about Rickles was the complete transformation that occurred when the cameras stopped rolling. Backstage, Rickles was known for his extraordinary kindness and genuine concern for fellow performers. He would spend hours mentoring younger comedians, offering career advice and emotional support while helping them develop thicker skin for the entertainment business's inevitable rejections and criticisms. His marriage to Barbara Sklar revealed a tender, devoted family man who cherished privacy and domestic tranquility. Rickles was married to Barbara for over 50 years, and their relationship demonstrated his capacity for deep loyalty and affection. He would often decline lucrative performance opportunities to spend time at home, and colleagues noted how his entire demeanor softened whenever he spoke about his wife and children. Carson witnessed Rickles' compassion during numerous Tonight Show appearances, where the comedian would privately comfort guests he had insulted during his performance. Rickles had an intuitive understanding of people's vulnerabilities and would carefully avoid topics that might cause genuine hurt while creating the illusion of merciless attack. After shows, he would personally apologize to anyone who might have felt uncomfortable and often developed lasting friendships with his victims. His loyalty to friends, particularly Frank Sinatra, revealed the depth of his character. When Sinatra faced criticism or personal difficulties, Rickles would publicly defend his friend while privately providing emotional support. Their friendship demonstrated Rickles' ability to balance professional respect with personal devotion, never allowing career considerations to compromise his loyalty to people he cared about. Despite facing his own health challenges and career setbacks, Rickles maintained his generous spirit toward struggling performers. He quietly supported numerous comedians facing financial difficulties, often hiring them for his shows or recommending them for other opportunities. Rickles understood the precarious nature of entertainment careers and used his success to help others navigate industry challenges. Don proved that you can be tough and tender at the same time, Carson observed. His insults were love letters written in a language only other entertainers could fully understand. George Burns, the eternal optimist's deep devotion. George Burns entertained audiences for nearly a century, but Carson recognized him as a man whose greatest performance was his lifelong love affair with his wife and comedy partner, Gracie Allen. Born Nathan Birnbaum on the Lower East Side of New York to Jewish immigrants, Burns began performing in childhood to help support his family after his father's passing. Burns's father, Eliezer, passed away when George was only 7 years old, forcing the family into extreme poverty. Young Nathan began performing on street corners and in saloons, learning early that entertainment could provide both income and escape from life's hardships. What moved Carson about Burns was his complete devotion to Gracie Allen, both as a performer and as the love of his life. Burns and Allen met in 1922 when both were struggling vaudeville performers, and their professional partnership became the foundation for a personal relationship that lasted until Gracie's passing in 1964. Burns often said that meeting Gracie saved his career and his soul, transforming him from a mediocre solo act into half of one of entertainment's greatest comedy teams. Their marriage demonstrated rare authenticity in a business known for manufactured relationships. Burns and Allen's love story was remarkable for its genuine affection and mutual respect. Unlike many entertainment couples, they truly enjoyed spending time together both on and off stage, sharing similar values about family, work, and the purpose of comedy in bringing joy to others. After Gracie's passing, Burns revealed the depth of his grief and the strength of his character. Burns was devastated by Gracie's passing and never remarried, spending the remaining 32 years of his life honoring her memory while continuing to perform. He would often speak to her photograph and maintained that she continued to help him with his comedy timing from beyond the grave. Carson admired how Burns channeled his loss into deeper appreciation for life and continued generosity toward others. Following Gracie's passing, Burns became even more committed to helping struggling performers and supporting charitable causes that had been important to his wife. He established scholarship funds for young entertainers and regularly performed at benefits for causes related to heart disease research. His longevity in show business came from his ability to find humor and meaning in life's inevitable sorrows. Burns lived to be 100 years old, maintaining his sense of humor and optimism despite experiencing the loss of many friends and colleagues. He used his own experiences with grief and aging to comfort others facing similar challenges, always emphasizing that laughter was life's greatest gift. George taught me that true love doesn't end with passing, Carson reflected. He showed us that you can honor someone's memory by continuing to become the person they believed you could be. These stories deserve to be heard by everyone who believes in the power of kindness. What Carson's kindness legacy reveals about Hollywood's true spirit. Johnny Carson's cherished memories of these 12 figures, 9 inspiring guests, and 3 resilient souls offer a rare, uplifting glimpse into Hollywood's warmth behind the facade of fame. Johnny saw the best in people, explained a longtime producer. For 30 years, stars revealed their hearts on his couch, creating bonds of trust. What makes Carson's admiration valuable is his genuine nature. He had no need to fabricate praise. At the industry's peak, he celebrated kindness freely. Carson's ability to recognize authentic goodness came from his own struggles with vulnerability and his deep understanding of what it meant to perform while carrying private pain. His appreciation for these performers was informed by his recognition that true kindness requires courage, especially in an industry that often rewards self-interest over compassion. Johnny sought smooth interviews, but when he admired someone, it was because their goodness shone, noted his producer. Carson distinguished between talent and heart, tolerating quirks if compassion prevailed. His test, how did they treat everyone, recalled his director. Carson developed what staff called his invisible test, observing how guests interacted with crew members, security guards, and maintenance staff when they thought no one important was watching. Those who passed this test by showing consistent kindness to all people, regardless of their status, earned Carson's deepest respect and return invitations to the show. Since Carson's passing in 2005, his views align with revelations of stars giving, like Sinatra's anonymous aid or Lewis's telethons. This shows he recognized true empathy Hollywood often highlighted. Carson's legacy of recognizing and celebrating authentic kindness has influenced how the entertainment industry measures success, encouraging current performers to consider their impact on others' lives as an essential component of their professional achievements. His example demonstrated that lasting fame comes not just from talent, but from using that talent to uplift others and create positive change in the world. Johnny Carson gave us 30 years of joy, but he also spotlighted the kindness in those around him when the laughs paused. Carson's greatest contribution may have been his demonstration that entertainment can serve as a platform for celebrating human goodness, inspiring both performers and audiences to recognize that our shared capacity for compassion is what makes us truly worthy of applause. His legacy reminds us that in a world often focused on division and criticism, choosing to highlight and honor kindness in others is both a generous act and a powerful form of leadership. These aren't just stories about famous people, they're reminders that kindness is the most powerful force in any industry, any era, any life. Johnny Carson spent 30 years looking for the light in people, and he found it shining in the most unexpected places. In a world that often focuses on what divides us, these 12 stars proved that choosing compassion over competition isn't just possible, it's what makes us truly unforgettable. If their stories moved you half as much as they moved Johnny, then maybe we can all be a little more like the stars who won America's heart.